thoughts on the mind that I must let them unwind. Because I feel at times that it's my soul I need to find. Need to educate the blind, teach them to see what doesn't shine. Need to make sure they know that no matter the look, we are all the same kind. Need a pen, not a paycheck, not just scheming with these rhymes. Instead I give it to them straight so that our hearts align. But I want a paycheck, everyone is the Lord by the glamour. I know I can make some money as I soar with the grammar. But am I ready for what I want? I hear that fortune and fame kills. No love and no real feelings, each night is the same thrills. Well, no matter what it is, I still would love to go and see. And even if it don't work out, I know I'll always have this poetry. What should I use this poetry for? Good or evil? Or should I just listen to you? I feel as though we should be equals. Should I talk about the issues that I have, or the issues that we all face? Those are changing the world's path. A lot of nations, but we ain't united in one way. Hearts are barely ever open like a store on Sunday. Just trying to get your cut, no matter whose life you're messing up. I swear so many are dropping low just to earn an extra buck. You can learn a lesson, but apparently school is dumb and gay. Reading, writing, expression is for fags, that's what some would say. But what I would say is, homie, get an education, get a book and get to making your brain work, no hesitation. Need brains, but the truth is also what you're needing. So school's what all you're teaching. Need to give these kids the freedom. You give them a struggle to be themselves and make sure that they lose the fight. But last time I checked, freedom of expression was a human right. So be a human, yo, it's simple. Just use more of your brain and go with your heart. Don't try to be somebody else or chase fortune and fame. I got a message, son, that you could learn a lesson from our preacher with this poetry. Cause knowledge you could get you some of poetry. This poetry, my poetry, this poetry. My poetry, my poetry, this poetry, my poetry, this poetry, my poetry. Hear that good poetry, you should know it's me. Hear that good poetry, you should know it's. Hear that good poetry, hear that good poetry, hear that good poetry, you should know it's me. Hear that good poetry, poetry, poetry. Need to talk about myself sometimes, use poetry for self-expression. Pages of pens have been my strengths at any time I felt depression. So I'm on the couch writing about these girls who play in my heart. Ones that flip the script on me, claiming I wasn't playing my part. I was straightforward, but you took my heart, tried to twist it around. We were standing together fine, then all of a sudden you shifted the ground, making me say fuck love, but y'all don't know what love means to me. Wanna be surrounded by love, but these girls wanna change the scenery. Wanna talk to homies better, but homies acting different too. Got my mind and heart racing, cause I don't know what shit is true. So many lies in this world, sometimes I feel I can't trust no one. Yeah, I'm getting far, but there's so many places where the bus come from. So be careful with your heart, cause certain people that you give a lot to could lie and say they like you too, even though she's into him and not you. While they do this, guess I'll never know the reason. Just keep them phonies and be true to myself, so that it's me I'm pleasing. When I feel that way, I grab a pen and paper, let them enlighten my health. So many lies in this world, but those make it so that I can't lie to myself. And when I think I found my love, I write about her too. And maybe I find true love with the magic that these words do. They help you find your love, but let you talk about your problems with it. No matter what, your heart is beating at least 120 throbs a minute. So please believe it's the best way to be. Believe in your stress and get out whatever's deep in your chest, and anything that you need to express with poetry. This poetry, my poetry, this poetry. My poetry, my poetry, this poetry, my poetry, my poetry, this poetry, poetry, poetry. Said this is poetry. Hear that good poetry, you should know it's. When you hear that good poetry, you should know it's me. Hear that good poetry, hear that good poetry, hear that good poetry, poetry, poetry. This is my poetry.